Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and respected professional from Gurgaon, India, Jyoti Bhasin. Jyoti, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Jyoti is the Managing Director, India and the Middle East of NSF. NSF as an organization is committed to protecting and improving human health and the environment on a global scale. So, Jyoti, before we come to NSF, a few questions for you. You
Sure.
have built a career spanning over 3 decades across very, very different sectors. What early experiences shaped your leadership philosophy?
That's a very interesting question, Ashutosh. Thank you for asking this. Um, when I started initially, of course, I started as an individual contributor working for a company. Um, what I quickly realized as I moved forward in my career is everybody wants to be treated well. So that became a cornerstone of how I work with my team and colleagues. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated yourself.
Hmm.
Second, very important lesson for me was we is powerful, more powerful than me. So
Hmm.
you need to take your team along in everything and anything that you do. And it's about results.
Hmm.
Anything and everything that you do is
Hmm.
about results.
Hmm.
You could be putting in a lot of effort, but then if that doesn't amount to the right results,
Hmm.
um, that counts, but that diminishes the importance of it. So results are important. Always inspect what you're expecting in terms of outcome and work with that focus in
Very
mind.
interesting. Very interesting. Great response. And as an MBA gold medalist with a chemistry background, how did your academic foundation influence your approach to business?
Okay, so the first thing that science does
Hmm.
is it allows you to question the why.
Hmm.
And it brings in a natural process of uh, being a little bit more open to experiments.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it allows you to have a foundation of innovation.
Yeah.
It allows you to experiment, but it also gives you structure. And as I said in the previous question, Ashutosh, results are important.
Hmm.
So science and a master's in business makes you know data, allows you to drive, focus on results, and yet keeps the doors open for innovation. So
Hmm.
those were the three things that I really took forward from my education as a background into the working world, and it still holds true.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Thank you. Jyoti, let's now talk about NSF. And my first question for my viewers and listeners who are unfamiliar with NSF, how would you explain your core mission and your global significance?
NSF is an organization which continues to, we've been around in this world for about 81 years now.
Wow.
This is a company which was founded in 1944
Hmm.
at the University of Michigan
Hmm.
with the core mission of supporting human and planet health. And
Hmm.
that mission continues to be important as the human population grows and
Yeah.
as the stress on the planet grows.
Hmm.
Um, we work in three major areas. We work in the area of food, we work in the area of water, and we work in the area of life sciences. All these three impact every life on this planet,
Hmm.
from keeping the food that we eat safe to making sure that the water in our taps is potable and drinkable, to the life saving medicines and the science behind producing the nutritional wellness products.
Hmm.
These are the core areas that we work in,
Hmm.
and it's the core of human beings being.
Absolutely. And how do you balance your role as an independent organization while you work closely with governments, regulators, and industries? Give me an example if you can.
Okay, so NSF is a standards writing body. Now, at the core of our standards writing body is the Council of Public Health. Now, this council is comprised of individuals from industry, regulators, and various stakeholders who evaluate and are important in terms of assessing every standard which is being created by NSF and that meets the core philosophy of human and public health. That way, we are able to create standards which are meeting the core mission of what NSF does. It meets the value and criteria of impartiality and supports the needs of the business and the industry. So that's one example. Right now, in terms of standards that NSF has, we have standards in the area of water where the pipes, the parts, the plumbing, the faucets can all be certified to NSF programs. We have dietary supplements which can be assessed and evaluated and again be certified to NSF programs. And similarly, we have standards in food. You may buy a bottled water which carries a mark of NSF, which again, gives you the assurance that this is a product which is certified to NSF standard. So these are the different industries and impartiality elements in terms of us supporting the industry. Another thing that I want to highlight, Ashutosh, while NSF creates standards and certifies to these standards, there are other organizations also who use the NSF standards to certify to those global requirements. So that's how we maintain that level of impartiality. We allow the industry to use it openly and access the standard.
Very interesting. My next question, Jyoti, is that food safety continues to be a major concern. What are some of the biggest risks you see emerging in the food ecosystem today where you are focusing NSF efforts?
So, two areas where being in India and seeing how the world is shaping and changing every day, the two risks that we feel are very, very important. Number one, the supply chain disruption risk.
Right.
We saw that during COVID. There was this massive disruption in terms of availability of product. The value chains got broken down. Therefore, what becomes important is we help businesses localize. We help businesses identify alternate mechanisms, suppliers, or mechanisms through which they can source product and their supply chain continues to be robust in terms of fulfilling the market needs. The second risk, which is also associated with the supply chain disruption, is being able to trace and being able to know where your product is coming from, which leads to being able to manage any level of adulteration or fraud risks that could come in if you do not have a comprehensive traceability system which is available to trace back where your supplies are coming from,
Absolutely.
how your suppliers are sourcing the base level product, all that integrated with the technology platforms that we have. We allow businesses to manage their food safety risks in an effective way. We have platforms from where you could manage your supplier bases, you can review how the product is coming in and where it is getting sourced from so that you've got end-to-end traceability and visibility.
Great response. Thank you. And tell me, what role does technology, such as AI, play in enhancing food and water safety today?
Yeah, I think I had started mentioning a little bit of about technology.
You had, yes.
Question too. There are two levels of technology that I'd like to talk about, not just AI. So the first level of technology is being able to convert your data into information. Now that's where AI helps. But you need robust systems to make sure that you have data which is being inputted, and then the system is integrating that entire data and converting that into information that you can use to make decisions. With respect to AI, what it also does is it allows you to extrapolate that data. So if you have a data point which is available and you'd like to do a simulation model, to see where are your largest risks, to be able to understand what should be the predictive values in terms of where this information is going. That's something you can do from AI. For example, if I would just take the story of a large brand who has, let's say, 1,000 restaurants across the country, and they'd like to see which restaurant is at the largest risk. They can use the data which has come in, or a data point which has come in from all these restaurants, to see whether this data point would manifest itself into a larger risk. Where is their brand reputation getting the most impacted, and what corrective actions can they take it right now so that the risk is minimized even before it becomes an issue. I mean, you control it before it hurts.
Yeah, fascinating. Tell me, with increasing consumer awareness, how important is certification in influencing purchasing decisions when it comes to food and water products?
So we recently did a survey, and the survey was done across a few countries where they asked the consumers on how important it is for you to know the product and what gives you the sense of satisfaction or trust in buying these products. And we had about 2/3 of the survey respondents saying that a third-party assurance helps them knowing that this product is safe and it meets some level of quality certification. As consumers get aware, they may not know all the brands, but they know what a trust seal looks like. When I also travel abroad, many a time, if I'm trying to purchase a product, or I'm trying to buy a food, or I'm trying to buy the bottle of water that I want to drink, the moment I see the NSF mark on that product or a bottle of water, the level of assurance I get in terms of knowing that this product has been tested and it's verified for safety, it takes my fear away. So I may not know the company that I'm dealing with or the brand that I'm buying. It may be written something in a foreign language that I cannot read, but I know the logo, the blue circle, which is my seal of quality and trust that allows me to pick up the product with a sense of safety.
How amazing. Well, that's something I knew I've learned from you today, and I would now look out for the NSF logo and everything now. Thank you. Jyoti, moving on, how are you building local capabilities? Because you are a global organization, how are you building local capabilities while maintaining global standards across so many diverse markets that you handle?
So, in terms of we are proudly global and also very proudly local. We fit into both the boxes. We've been operational in this part of the world for over 17 years now. We started in 2008, so it's been a while, and our team in the local geography is 100% local but trained to global standards. So that does two things for us. It's a team of 100 plus capable technical individuals which are providing support and services for customers and clients across these multiple countries. What we are trying to aim and do through this process is two things, Ashutosh. Thing number one, when we hire local people with the right degree and qualification, we are bringing in local knowledge and sensitivities in terms of knowing what the ground realities are and how things work in that location, country, and geography. Then, when we top that up with global best practices, global knowledge, we bring in the level of standardization in terms of what good looks like for NSF. We are equipping our local experts with the requirements, which is a minimum for NSF to consider the product meeting the public health and safety requirement. That combination allows us to service our clients with the same level of integrity, with the same level of standards, no matter what the market is. Yet we are able to build in the flexibility and the requirements which are needed for local markets.
Very interesting. And what are some of the key challenges you face when you want to scale up operations across such culturally diverse regions like, the India and the Middle East?
One baseline, Ashutosh, is that science speaks the same language. Everybody
Absolutely.
wants safe food, everybody wants safe drinking water. So that baseline of science does not
Does not
change
change. Yeah.
no matter where you are.
Mm.
What does happen is that there is a need to integrate some of the local requirements when it comes to what the law of the land is. One philosophy that we work with is the law of the land or the law of the brand, whichever is higher. So we want to make sure that we are always supporting the highest level of standards. Sometimes what we have to do is we realize that there is a need of a lot more training to do to explain the why behind why something is needed. Washing hands.
Yeah.
Why do I need to wash hand every time or in every 2 hours? I just wash my hand. Why do I need to wash my hand again and again? So you need to sometimes do training on simple things in certain cases more than what you need to do in certain other cases. So that's the level of sensitivity. Then we build in knowing from where we are starting that perhaps there is a higher need for us to educate, for a higher need for us to offer advisory services support or build in more thought leadership so that the education curve can be fastened to bring it to where we'd like to take it.
Amazing. What are the major regulatory or policy gaps that still need attention in our country when it comes to food and water ecosystems?
Well, I would say the government's doing a lot in terms of trying to create benchmarks. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has put in requirements for food establishments. They are trying to do that fine balance of making sure that innovation is taking things forward and yet the requirements are being met. I would say a similar thing about other regulatory frameworks which are available in the country. My one thought, having worked on a global level and seeing how some of the other geographies are also working and taking things forward, is a lot of information is already out there and a lot of standards and benchmarks are already created. Some of this is ready work which is available, which could be captured and incorporated to create a minimum benchmark in areas where the government right now has kind of left it open. I understand that challenges of the government are slightly different from, I mean, India is such a large country
Correct.
with such a large area of interest and needs to take care of. We could perhaps fasten some of these things through public private partnerships and we do not need to recreate everything from from 0 to 1. That is one area I would feel that sometimes there's a need to do everything from scratch, and that can be avoided by
Interesting.
the governments.
Very interesting. I have time for two more questions for you. As you look ahead, what are some of the biggest disruptions that could redefine food safety and water quality globally?
Well, we've all lived through one major disruption, which was a few years
Absolutely.
ago with
Yeah.
COVID. Now that did redefine how food safety and water safety was looked at, and how it also became really at the center of a lot of requirements for the business. Now, what COVID did was it brought in wave of localization, and we still see that being very strong. More and more countries would like to say proudly local. They are looking at creating more local supply chain availability, more suppliers which are being looked at, being available locally. Innovation has gone up, so it's also led to looking at newer ways of doing things. For example, if we look at how we were supporting our clients, it brought in more capability to do remote assisted support, where you could do something where a client is at a different site and you are at a different site, and not all interaction was being done physically in physical proximity. So that was one big disruption which shaped the world in terms of new technologies being available, the need for bringing in more local suppliers. No, the second trend, it's not really a disruption, but if I really look at the one big area which is now shaping everything that is happening across, is the use of data and the use of technology, which is taking things to a new level in terms of what can you predict, what can you simulate, how do you define what a future could look like. But what we are also saying is that as these things happen, newer risks are also emerging. So as the technology is developing, you're realizing that there could be newer areas of risks which are coming into focus. Microplastics in food and in water. That was never an issue which was earlier at the center of discussion, because we never realized that there is something like a microplastic that exists. But then now that comes into focus. As the world consumption goes up, so does the contaminants and the number of contaminants which can come into play. Recently, there was some discussions about radioactive materials found in a specific food, and we had some clients asking us if there is capacity to check and test that. So
amazing. Yeah.
New emerging contaminants, you asked for two, I'll give you three. New emerging contaminants are shaping how the world will look at things forward. AI and COVID was a disruption which really changed the industry too.
Very well said. Very well said. And my last question for you, Jyoti, and this is back to you personally. As a woman leader in a global organization, what changes have you observed in leadership diversity over the years?
I would say India and the world, the acceptance of a leader as a leader is what I would say as a bottom line statement right now. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you're a leader. So you stand tall as a leader, where you do not talk about your gender. It's not important. What's important is what leadership qualities you bring to the table. How do you take the team forward, and how do you deliver results? That I would say is the biggest change, and it's taken a few years for us to come to that parity, or to come to that level where I would say no no women in leadership, to really being called out as women
Absolutely.
in leadership, to
Correct.
a state now where I'm saying a leader is a leader. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter whether it's
Absolutely.
a man or a woman.
Absolutely.
That's
Very
where
true.
I'm saying the world is now.
I agree, completely agree with you. Thank you. And on that note, Jyoti, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this one has been. You know, the whole world is talking of sustainability, talking of water, talking of food, and wellness. And, NSF seems to be doing an amazing amount of stuff, work across the world, protecting us, making sure that we know that whatever standards are there are actually being implemented. And just visually as a consumer, by looking at your logo on a product, I can make out that this is my stamp of purity, stamp of being honest from the perspective of the supplier. You also told me a little bit about contaminants, and you told me about three areas where there were disruptions and how the world continues to change. And I'm sure we'll continue to see many, many more disruptions over the years. Thank you for what you're doing as NSF. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.